presented a similar presentation. The first time was at a staff retreat back in 2020, and it went really well. It's an interesting way to think about how certain conversations can go different than they normally do. By discussing different ways of thinking about a particular discussion topic. So the purpose today is to learn the elements and the benefits in the process of parallel thinking. We're going to spend a significant amount of time today going over some of those basics, and then we're going to have a chance to practice using this 6 hats thinking method. So what is parallel thinking? Edward de Bono wrote a book back in 1985, I believe it was published, and then republished in 1999 called 6 Thinking Hats. And he describes a new way of thinking. He is suggesting that instead of a meeting where everybody may talk about what they think should go on in a meeting or what they think they should do about a particular issue. The idea is to sort of segment the conversation so that at any one moment, everybody is looking in the same direction. One of the examples that he gives in the book is imagine a house and everybody at the meeting is on one side of the house. Let's say you're facing the front of the house. So everybody's looking at, let's say, the front porch. And then you consciously and on purpose switch to the side of the house where everybody can look from that perspective. What might you see? You might see a side door. And then at the back, you see the backyard. So the idea is that everybody is thinking in the same way at the same time, instead of perhaps a more chaotic situation where people might be saying what they think about the front of the house when the person sitting at the side of the house doesn't really follow because they're not looking in the same way. So that's what we mean by parallel thinking. At any moment, everyone is looking in the same direction. And it's good because it widens our lens, right? The idea is that each hat identifies a particular type of thinking. We're going to go into what those are. Hats are or can be seen as directions of thinking. Like I was saying, everybody's looking at a house, for instance, from the same perspective. And hats help a group use parallel thinking. And anyone at any time can put on or take off a hat. No one wears only one hat. I happen to wear a hat most frequently. The one that I gravitate towards happens to be a black hat. I'm concerned with being risk averse. I often gravitate toward seeing things in a particular way. However, I actually have the power and the confidence and the creativity to switch hats to see things from a different way. And when I do that, I can actually contribute to the conversation more from just the black hat view. So we'll go over that. So what are these colors? Okay, 6 of them. We start with white, which is neutral and objective. Very often meetings begin with this kind of information. Red is your emotional or passionate hat. It isn't a crime to feel emotional about any particular topic at all. And this hat lets you give that emotion and or passion some time at the table to be discussed. The black hat is serious and logical, risk averse usually. Yellow is sunny and positive. Green is like springtime, growth and forward movement. And finally, the blue hat, you can associate it with being cool or the sky above. It's kind of an umbrella way of thinking about thinking. In other words, it's kind of the facilitator's role in a meeting to wear the blue hat. And we'll go into what that means. So these are the colors and these are the hats. So white is objective facts and figures, data and information. Red are emotions, feelings, intuition. How do you feel about something? Black is usually cautious, careful, and has critical judgment. Yellow, hope is positive and beneficial. What are the possibilities from discussing things with a yellow hat? Green is like creativity, ideas, and lateral thinking, the idea of creativity, right? Blue, process control and organization of thinking. So thinking about thinking, the control of the meeting. So in wearing the hats, direction, not description, right? We're going to set out to think in a certain direction. If, let's say, you have an issue, you know that everybody at the table, if you have 10 people at the table, they're going to have 10 different opinions, right? So we're going to say the words that you might use is, let's have some black hat thinking. Let's look at this cautiously and pursue the idea of critical thinking. It is not, though, wearing these hats is a sort of a tangible way to imagine yourself sitting at a table. You're not actually physically wearing the hats, but you can think about them as if you're wearing them. What it is not is categories of people. You don't want to ever say, like, to me, just because I might lean toward black hat thinking doesn't mean that I am a black hat thinker, right? It doesn't define who I am. The idea is to share a particular point of view. And truly, to make a conversation really fruitful is that everyone can and should use all the hats. And the blue hat will tell you when you're wearing which hat so that your meeting doesn't go all chaotic. It's also not right versus wrong, right? There is no wrong way to look at an issue with these hats. The idea is that you look at an issue from multiple points of view, from multiple perspectives. And through that, you can surface potential gaps. What isn't being looked at? And you can always use it in whole or in part. Not every conversation has to include every single hat color. Very often you're looking just to ideate or generate creative new ideas about something. And you can think about the potential using the yellow hat and the green for ideating. Whereas if you want facts and figures and possibly someone's emotional tie or bias to an issue, you might employ the white and the red hats. So what are the benefits of getting all into this craziness? Well, it does provide us a common language. At the table, we can say, I would like to put on my red hat right now to say that I don't like this issue. I don't like the possibility of that particular outcome. I'm worried, let's say, wearing the red hat, that the impact of this will be bad for our volunteers. So you can identify for your audience, each person in a meeting, you can say, I am thinking under this particular hat right now. Don't judge me. This is just the way I'm thinking, and I'm inviting you to think about this with me, right? So it includes the experience and intelligence of each person. You're really welcoming the idea that these different ways of thinking are happening all of the time, and you're welcoming each in its own time and place during the meeting to be seen, to be heard, a voice at the table, right? You also get the chance to use more of your brain because you're thinking about things in different ways. Each time you categorize or compartmentalize something or think about it from a different viewpoint, very often you are building that surface area of brain cells that is engaged. And so really your brain's getting bigger. It also helps people work against type or preference. The idea is if everybody's got an opinion about something, then everybody's opinion should be heard, right? But there's a time and a place to do that. So this helps you provide that platform or that venue for doing that. Also, removal of ego. So you can reduce confrontation at a meeting if, let's say, it happens to be confrontational because of so many ideas bouncing off of each other at once. If each person has a way to think under a particular model, then you're not necessarily judging anybody at that table for voicing that opinion. Also, you can save time. Edward de Bono makes several comments about major corporations using this theory in practice, and something that could take months to deliver on an idea was brought down to a week, or a week-long seminar could be brought down into 45 minutes. He has several of these types of explanations when this works. So it's definitely a time saver for organizations that need to focus. And that's really that's the thing, is focusing on one thing at a time, to see one side of the house all together, and then move to the next. And then finally, it can help you create, evaluate, and implement action plans. Now that all of the information is on the table, the facts and figures, the emotions, the potentials, the creativity, all of those things are there. Now you can start working. You have a map, basically not a physical map, but a mind map of where you can go considering all of this information. So let's start talking about the hats individually. The blue hat is the thinking about thinking. This is usually the moderator or the facilitator's hat that they wear throughout the entire meeting. It will give you the topic. It will give you the time frame. It will give you in what sequence will we use each of the different hats. If one hat is sort of bleeding into another, or if one person is supposed to be wearing a particular hat and starts to move off topic, move to a different color hat, the blue hat can then take control and say, hey, let's, I see that you're expressing, let's say, emotion or an opinion. Let's get back to the white hat facts, right? So it provides that discipline and focus for the meeting. This might be combined with the person who's taking the minutes, but it sounds kind of an easy umbrella position to fill. But the truth is that doing this blue hat really requires most of your attention. So you might want to, if you need to take minutes in a meeting, have somebody else do that, so that the blue hat person wearing the blue hat can facilitate well. So let's see, white hat thinking. White hat thinking means that you're neutral, it's objective information. It's only about facts and figures, right? You can review existing information, search for gaps, and analyze past trends. All of this is, this is your charts and your graphs and your statistics and all of those kinds of things. So it does not include opinions or hunches or judgments. This is purely facts and figures, and it's proven facts and figures. It is not something that you heard somebody else say as a fact or figure. It's been proven for you. It also can remove these feelings and impressions, right? So you can say we have 50 of these widgets, and we have 7 people working on this plan, and they have to be delivered by a particular date and in a particular quantity in a particular way. Those are facts and figures that you can objectively put on paper, right? So what are the kinds of questions you might use when you're wearing the white hat? These are some examples. What information do we have? What information do we need? What's missing? What questions do we need to ask to get to the information we need? And then finally, the most important really is it fact or belief? So like I was saying, checked facts versus believed facts. You want to make sure that under the white hat comes only checked facts. Once you get into believed facts, that's much more in the red hat area, and it can also include biases. And so you want to stay away from that while you're wearing the white hat. Okay, and then often paired against the white hat is the red hat. These are the ways and the means for you to discuss emotions and feelings. Maybe you have hunches or intuitions, impressions, gut instincts. This is the intangible, right? The way that we just feel about a particular issue. And you can feel something about a particular set of informational facts. You can question them, or you can also look inside and say, when I hear that fact, I don't feel good, or I feel strange when I'm incorporating this fact. So that would be the kinds of things that you do under the red hat. What's nice about the red hat is that when everybody is thinking in this parallel way, everybody is thinking in the red hat, wearing the red hat at the same time, you don't have to justify your feelings. If you didn't give this particular red hat its time and place at a meeting, you might have people who are participating with unsaid emotions, unsaid biases. And so you want to give that time to surface at the table, making sure everybody is very clear about what all of those opinions are really about. So no justifications needed. You also want to consider how other people will react emotionally to the information that you're presenting. So sometimes in a meeting, you might return to red hat thinking, right? You covered your white, you go to red, and then maybe you're ideating, and now there are opinions and impressions or intuitions that people have about what the green hat, right? So sometimes you want to actually go back and redo a red hat with the potential plans that you may have laid out. So these are the questions when you do red hat thinking. So if I was the moderator, if I was wearing my blue hat, I would stand up to the meeting and I would say, okay, we're going to be putting on our red hat. What is your gut reaction to this proposal? What's your opinion about how we're doing this particular project? What do you like or don't like about this? Let's hear what your gut is telling you. We don't want to push it away as if it didn't mean anything. It means quite a lot and can impact anybody's idea of what the work is about and their attitude toward it, right? So if you've ever experienced change in the workplace, which of course we all have, there's often a lot of red hat questions to ask, and you will find that there's a great deal of time spent in this area simply just to get it all out on the table. So that would include fear and anger, hatred, suspicion, enthusiasm, joy. I mean, there's a million different emotions, right? And so you're looking for each of those. It doesn't necessarily, not everybody is going to be emotional about a particular topic, but it does offer the ability for people to come forward with their red hat thinking. Okay, so now we're talking about yellow hat, right? Yellow hat, very spring-like. We're talking about positive and speculative. What could be, right? The positive thinking and optimism and opportunity. What are the different ways that we could benefit from this particular issue or this particular project or this particular volunteer? What are the best case scenarios? It's very hopeful, right? You're looking for ways to find the positive. And so when you are under the yellow hat, these questions might come up. What are your suggestions or proposals for how to navigate communication and issues surrounding the situation? Talk about the benefit of how this has been designed. What positives do you see, right? You can pull out from the meeting members this kind of thinking that they might not normally gravitate toward. But chances are, if they don't normally gravitate toward it, if given enough of a chance, if given enough space and grace at a meeting to find out what the positives are, very likely even your more negative thinkers will come out with some pretty good ideas and expectations here. What is your vision for how this can move forward? What a great question, right? If you let somebody truly think about that and answer it, that can be the start of something beautiful, right? Okay, and now we're talking about green hat. Okay, green is springtime, and earth and regenerating, right? If you think about the trees and the grass growing all around you. So we're talking about new ideas, concepts, and perceptions. What can we bring to this that might be new or different? Alternatives and more alternatives, brainstorming sessions. You can imagine yourself at a big old whiteboard and circling things and connecting the dots. And what are those possibilities? What can we think of that we may not have thought of before? Really outside the box type of stuff. Exactly. So let's think out the box. That's a really good green hat question. And you may ask some or one or all of these during a session. It doesn't have to be, specifically a script. Also, it doesn't have to follow a particular timeline either. If you get 5 minutes into, let's say, white hat thinking, but you've decided that you're going to have 15 minutes in the meeting just for white hat thinking, doesn't mean you have to use the rest of the 10 minutes, right? You can shuffle as necessary. It's an organic flow. And so each hat doesn't have to have exactly 5 minutes or exactly 10 minutes. You want to just moderate it. So this is especially true when you're talking about green hat, because people might have been thinking something in the past, or maybe they haven't given it any thought and they need time to sort of stew on it, or they might need a few days, right? If, let's say, you have an initiation meeting where all the facts are laid out, you might schedule a different meeting to create fresh ideas or approaches. Let's come back in 3 days for some green hat thinking, right? And how can we reshape a certain idea? So all of these words can help really ping your meeting members, your meeting participants. And you never know what might resonate with one or the other at any particular time. So give all of these different questions a chance. Okay, let's talk about black hat thinking. It's not negative. It is cautious and careful. It's the idea that a particular issue, a particular way of doing things might not work. And so you're talking about the logical risks that are involved. You're not necessarily being open and fresh with this. This could be backward thinking in terms of looking back in time to how something didn't work in the past and making sure everybody at the meeting is aware of those risks. But it does separate logic from emotion, right? The idea is not, I'm opposed to this idea because I don't like it. I'm opposed to this idea because in the past we lost 20% of our volunteers by doing this, and we could have done it a different way. So let's be aware of our mistakes that have passed. It's very very helpful to make sure that you spot the spikes in the road, right? You want it to be a smooth ride, and if you can point to a potential obstacle in your path, you can logically navigate your way around it, right? Okay, so what are some questions? These are very good examples. What will happen if we take this action? What can go wrong? What are the weaknesses that we need to overcome? And how does this fit with other work going on with us, with other regions, with other states, at other levels of the department or of the division? It can be asked no matter what kind of organization you're part of. You can ask it at home. You can ask it at school. You can ask it at work. So all of these hats are applicable in just about any question where people have to come together to decide something or to move forward on an issue. So you want to find out where those particular obstacles might be. All right, so let's summarize the 6 thinking hats. Blue is control and organization of thinking. White is those objective facts and figures, that basic information. Red is emotions and feelings. Yellow would be hope, positive and speculative, what could be possible. Green is creativity, ideas, and lateral thinking. And finally, black is cautious and careful. So at this time, I'd like to open it up for any questions before we move on to sort of practicing this. Does anybody have any questions about any of these hats? I hope I can't see the chat. So can you tell me if anybody's put anything in there or raised their hands or would
Yeah,
like to come off mute?
someone's typing, so
Oh,
I
okay.
will let you know.
Okay, we'll wait.
Yeah, we will wait. But comments that this is brilliant. They are asking for the slideshow, so I'll make sure I get that from you and pass it out to everybody. But yeah, I'm still waiting. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a you know, when we go through school, when we go through college, we talk a lot about critical thinking, right? We talk about pros and cons as if those are the only things that really figure into our decision making. When in truth, there are all of these things that figure into our decision making, whether or not we've named them under the hats or not. So it's important to make sure that you're not limiting your thinking just to pros and cons um, or the benefits and the negatives. There's all kinds of things that can work into your new model of doing something. Okay, any comments?
They stopped, so no,
Okay,
nothing in the chat.
all right, great. Let's move on. So let's try it. What's coming up? Thanksgiving is coming up. So I'd like to hear what you think about Thanksgiving dinner, and we're going to go through the hats one by one. And I'd like you to contribute either by writing in the chat box or by coming off of mute. What do we know about Thanksgiving dinner? And we're going to be thinking about all of the hats, right? So, I'll take the blue hat for now, and I'm saying we're discussing Thanksgiving. So now you know what we're talking about. It's dinner specifically, and we want to make it the best ever. But we know our family, we know certain idiosyncrasies, we know our house and how many we can fit, and things of that nature. So, want to see the whole picture of Thanksgiving dinner, but specifically under these hats. So, can anybody speak up and name an issue that would come up under the white hat? For objective facts and figures, what do we know about Thanksgiving dinner when it comes to objective facts and figures?
You would have to consider food allergies.
Yes. Okay, very good.
We to know when, where, and how many people are going to be there.
Absolutely.
Also, Elise, in the comments, they have what will the menu be?
Right.
And then also arrival times and scheduling.
Absolutely. Very good. Okay, so now we've got our white. Now, it wouldn't just be asking those questions, it would actually be providing the answers. So let's just say for expediency that we've got 10 people coming to dinner. We've got 2 vegetarians and 1 gluten allergy. We've got multiple age ranges, but they get along really well, except for Aunt Bertha, who is usually gets a little tipsy and can be a little difficult when it comes to speaking with the children when she's had a few, right? So those are our basic facts and figures. Okay, let's talk about our red hat. What emotions, feelings, or intuitions do we have about Thanksgiving dinner?
Who will be cutting off Aunt Bertha?
Maybe the emotion of being reminiscent about past Thanksgivings, um, and the feelings that you develop from the past and bringing them to the future.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not crazy about Uncle Bert, but me and my cousin get along really great. So I'm thinking I probably would want to spend more time with my cousin than Uncle Bert. Right. That would be coming from the red hat. Very good.
Some other comments, Eliza. I want green bean casserole. Red, anticipation of good and the inedible discussion. Keep Aunt Bertha away from the kids when drinking.
Okay. All right.
And
Uh,
also excited to see my family.
Okay, yes, definitely. Being excited is definitely an emotion. I would think that when we're generating ideas about how to keep Aunt Bertha away from the kids when she's had too much to drink, might actually fall under the green hat. Um, your red is what you bring to with certain biases, with emotions, maybe like you were saying, the history of Thanksgiving dinner at our place can be a little bit sticky. So, we want to keep away from certain political topics or something like that. All right, let's look at black hat thinking. What do we have to be very observant of? What do we have to be careful? What are some obstacles that we want to avoid?
Making sure that the person with gluten allergy is aware of which foods they need to avoid.
Hmm. Definitely. Maybe put a
Yeah.
sign on something.
Someone did say food allergies and seeding conflicts away from each other.
Exactly, exactly. You know from
Not burning the
past,
food.
right? You know from past experiences that putting, Aunt Charlene and Uncle Charlie next to each other isn't a good idea. We've had problems with that, so we're going to avoid that by producing a seating chart. Good idea, right? Yes, definitely want to have some cautious uh, uh, and careful thinking there. Anybody else with black hat thinking? What
Nothing
about
else in
going
the
back?
chat.
Okay. What about going back to the white hat, right? We heard that there's going to be 10 people at the table, but we know that we only have a set of 8 dishes. What that would be an obstacle, right? That would be something, a fact that we have to be aware of and try and work around. So that might work under black hat thinking as well. It could be, not necessarily. It's not all familial, right? It's not all people. It's not all about how people will react to each other, but could be just um, basic limits to what we can do. And then under the green hat, we might say, "Hey, to your cousin, I only have a set of 8. Can you bring a few more?" So that everybody has something to eat and dinner plates and dessert plates and all that good stuff. So, what about yellow? How can what do we say under that hat to show that we're hopeful, positive?
Eliza, one more before we move to yellow.
Oh, yeah.
For black, I'm always at the kids' table with Aunt Bertha. It is the same old, same old.
Okay. All right. And so then I would say, as the blue hat thinker, sort of controlling that idea for a moment to say, okay, let's wait until we get to green hat thinking when we can find a way, if you're interested, we can find a way to make this a more positive event for you. Let's consider not sitting you next to Aunt Bertha at the kids' table, right? So as a blue hat, I would sort of interject and say, let's deal with that when we're all looking at this the same way, right? Under the yellow or the green hat. That's great. Great contribution. Thank you.
Yellow, varied food and activities and good wine will keep everyone engaged and having fun.
That's a great one. Yes.
And also remind everyone why we gather as family and friends. And I'm so excited to see everyone. I will bring non-alcoholic wine.
Fantastic. Yeah. And what about the potential? What is the potential of having that kind of a Thanksgiving meal? Maybe Christmas is easier, or Hanukkah, or whatever you celebrate in the wintertime. Maybe the next time that there's a family gathering, because we have this hope, because we put forward these ideas about how we can do things differently, etc., that perhaps our future familial gatherings are easier or more fun or more pleasant for everybody. So those are definitely thoughts that would go under the yellow hat. Okay.
Also, a lasting memory.
That's right. You want to create a lasting memory. That's definitely the potential. That's definitely the sort of what you're shooting for. And so that will guide you as you're making your map, how to get to that point, right? How do we make this exactly that? Good. Anybody else for yellow?
Yes, one more. Get everyone engaged with what they are grateful for this season. Remind them to be positive.
Very good. Very good. That's right. Absolutely. Okay, under green hat thinking, we want creativity, ideas. We want to see what can we do this year that was different what can we do this year that was different from last year? How can we make this new and exciting for our folks? This is the time for green hat thinking. Does anybody have any ideas there? I love visiting schools during Thanksgiving time. You know, they always do these fun little, they put their hand up and they trace their hand and they make a turkey out of it and they stick these cotton balls to it and feathers and colors and that kind of thing. And then they bring that home and it adds to the decorations and people can get all, Facebook and Pinterest are full of all these fun ideas. It's like, yeah, I want that. I can't do it. I'm not that creative, and my version of it might not come out so great. But I like the way they did it. I'm going to put that on the table this year.
Bring a gluten-free dessert.
Good. Yeah.
Finding any new activity that you can do as a whole family. One of our traditions may be playing flag football after dinner. Well, this year we're going to play something different, soccer or maybe something that everyone can engage in, such as cards or games.
That's great. That's great. Fantastic. Absolutely. In my family, we like to do, why are we thankful? What are you thankful for before we eat? Sort of as a prayer or a meditation. The idea of talking openly and honestly about those feelings, about the issues of the day, and trying to calm your mind in that way so that you can really enjoy and be present for family dinner.
Spice up the Brussels sprouts recipe or sweet potato or green bean dishes with different items. Introduce new games during after dinner.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Great green thinking, green hat thinking. Absolutely. So it's letting those creative juices flow, right? And everybody, once the green hat has been announced, then everybody should be contributing to those creative ideas. Good, good. And then blue is usually the opener and the closer of the meeting. They are, it's like sort of summarizing what you've discussed. It is about what are the next steps, etc. Can anybody offer specifics for Thanksgiving dinner about blue hat thinking? And then we'll move on to an issue more closer to home for DCS and disaster service volunteers and Red Cross stuff.
This is
How
where you
about,
develop your schedule.
what's that?
You can develop your schedule of, how you're going to cook the dishes so that they're done at the same time, what time dinner will be, those kind of things.
Absolutely. Very good. Very good.
See typing.
Okay. Maybe at the end of dinner, we know who's going to clean up, what stuff. Maybe you want to assign putting all the leftovers into Tupperware. And back from where I used to come from in Minnesota, your back porch served as another refrigerator. So that comes in very handy when you're trying to preserve food. Or who's going to clean up the utensils, or who does the scraping of the plates. That could be one way that you're sort of putting order to some chaos so that you can get on to the good stuff, which is dessert, right?
Let's see. So we have help me to manage conversation flow. Get the folks off their phones, stay
Yeah.
away from politics, avoid questions of those not talking. I'm sorry, asking questions of those not talking.
That's right. You definitely always want to have an inclusive environment. There are some of us who are just not necessarily shy, just more introverted. Maybe they have a lot to say and a lot to contribute, but don't want to take up other people's times, or maybe, they may be just very self-conscious about sharing with a group. So you want to allow avenues for participation, whatever they may be. Absolutely. Those are all really good contributions. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have time to do a couple of other issues. Let's talk about something that we know could possibly happen this winter, an ice storm, right? So most of us are disaster cycle services volunteers or staff, and we need to make sure that we are covering our bases when we are dealing with an ice storm. So if, let's say, we could switch gears for a moment and talk about what do we know about this ice storm. Let's start with the white hat thinking. Anybody provide some information here? You can make it up if you want for these purposes.
How many people do we have available to assist with the storm? And do they have the resources that they need in that area? Or maybe do we need to change the way we need to do things because we can't get to that area?
Very good. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Basic facts, no emotion, just the facts, ma'am, right? How about, yeah.
4 feet drifts and updates from EM, emergency management, and what is emergency management asking of us?
Right. Good. Absolutely. What is our responsibility per the plans that have been put in place? Maybe we should review our emergency action plan, right? That's really good information. Anybody else?
Someone has asked, no, never mind. Go ahead.
Okay, let's move to red. Let's talk about emotions, feelings, and your intuitive nature here when you're dealing with an ice storm. What comes up from your gut about this? What do you think of when you see a car wrapped in ice like that? Is it scary? Maybe you yourself have been impacted. Maybe you yourself are inside that car.
Yeah, so fear that trees will fall.
Right.
People without heat, elderly, stranded.
That's right. You're worried about them, concerned for them. And let's say, we did open up a shelter, right? The caring for the people in that shelter brings up stress sometimes for us. We always try and smile in the face of adversity, right? But down deep, we might be very scared for ourselves, for our family, for our loved ones, for the people that we take care of. Good.
Two more. How extensive can it become? Remind people of their family plans and concern for our volunteers as to being able to travel to assist.
Fantastic. I love that. Remind of people of the plans, because the plans that they wrote or the plans that they practiced were done under non-stressful times, right? And that provided information on how to move forward. That's what making a plan is all about, right? And so when you're feeling stressed, you can always revert back to what information has already been established. What are the hard facts? Excellent. Anybody else? Okay, let's move to the black cat.
One more, Elisa, sorry.
Okay.
Two more. Memories of my mother getting stranded in a bad winter storm and not being able to get to her and being afraid that she would die. And then relook at your shelter in place kit.
Absolutely. So if you're looking for something to calm you down from that fear, reverting back to the white hat thinking is always a really good idea. Absolutely. And, wondering, is it not okay to think back to an event where you were really, really scared? Of course not. It's absolutely fine to have that emotion, to be aware that those emotions can come back after, many, many summers, right? You haven't thought about that winter storm in a long time, and all of a sudden this ice storm hits and it brings back all kinds of stress and memories from the past. So what can you do for yourself to control that? You can go back to the information you have. Absolutely. Absolutely. And go to know that you have your go kit and it has everything you need because you planned for it. That's fantastic. Let's move ahead to black hat thinking. What do we need to be cautious of? Obviously we have ice. There is a physical product in our way. Let's say just getting to the people in this in this parking lot, right? That might need saving. What are the obstacles that we face?
Let's see. Some volunteers may not have transport, be able to help. Equipment may malfunction in the
Absolutely.
cold or be stuck in the ice, lengthening response time.
That's right.
Also need chains for cars.
And who has those down here, right?
Right.
So, sometimes it's an opportunity. Black hat thinking gives us an opportunity to think of the what ifs. At a particular office down in Rock Hill, South Carolina, that's where we keep our trailers, right? Well, there's a significant angle down to where we keep those trailers. If there had been an ice storm, we might have trouble pulling that trailer up. So I might need the assistance of emergency management to get us up and out of that parking lot, let's say. So bringing that up is throwing up sort of a red flag that says this may need to be revisited, or this should go under your list of concerns that we can have possibly a second conversation about that offline. It's bringing up these what if type of situations. Scenarios, that's what I was going to say.
Pre-position assets, including workforce, get the cat litter and shovels out. City support services will be delayed.
Okay, I think that city support services being delayed probably falls under the white hat thinking. But preparedness ideas definitely fall under the green hat thinking. So again, you want to look at, what if something happens? Let's say, for instance, what if I I can tell that there's somebody inside one of these cars, and I can try and use an ice scraper, but what happens if I break a window? Am I ready to deal with that if they have to continue to use that car throughout the winter? You know, that might be a series of black hat thinking items, right? What might happen because I cause it to happen? Or if we take step one, what will step two show for us? That kind of thing. Okay, let's look at yellow. What are the positives here?
Yellow resourcefulness is our motto.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We know how to do this, right? We've done it before. Name the disaster. We've been there. We have all kinds of people to rely on. We've got a support network in staff and volunteers. We've got a whole region who can, come and help us out if necessary. We're not alone. Those are all very hopeful, reinforcing types of yellow hat thinking. Thank you.
We have yay, I get to go to a shelter and help.
That's right, exactly. I might see the people I love working with. I can help people in need. These clients will be so happy to know that Red Cross is there for them to help. Absolutely, those are fantastic. And finally, let's talk about green hat thinking. What are ways that we might, protect ourselves as we're trying to service the needs of others? Like, for instance, I was thinking, how am I going to get across this parking lot without falling on my behind, right? Well, let's see. I could possibly get out my skates, my ice skates. I might be able to travel better, like on my knees on a sled. Maybe I'll go to the store and pick up some of those things that fit around your shoes with the spikes, so that I won't slip and fall. And I'll bring my scraper with me, and possibly even some hand warmers, right, to make sure that I keep warm, as well as the person I'm trying to save in there. That might be some green hat thinking. Does anybody have anything else?
Chance to test the plan, test the flexibility in all of us. Put out my CT snow pants. I'm not too sure what those are, and enough layers for an ice slide.
Okay.
And
All right.
crampons. I don't know what that is.
I think that's either it goes on shoes or it helps you, like, have you ever seen anybody sort of climb a glacier and they have those ice picks? I think
Oh,
those
okay.
are
Okay.
crampons.
They also
Good.
listed cleats as well.
Cleats, absolutely. Very
Get
good.
the ice picks out and crampons on boots, crampons on ice bikes. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Because you want to be able to protect yourself. And if you have an extra pair, maybe you can give it to the person that you're trying to assist as well. So you don't have to drag them across the ice. So having all of those ideas, at a very serious period of time, if you come back to the specific parallel thinking technique, and one person says crampons and another person says sled and another person says ice skates, you never know when somebody who never spoke up before will all of a sudden come up with this fantastic idea about how to handle this really well. So that's the benefit of parallel thinking, where everybody's looking in the same direction at the same time. And that's really the blue hats MO, is to make sure that everybody is doing that, so that each kind of thinking is done to make a plan and to figure out what the group is going to do. Okay, with our last 5 minutes, I would love to chat about this. This might be a longer term issue that you are often faced with. This is a chance to talk about it in practical terms. One of the things that we are very interested in is making sure that volunteers are satisfied with their work, and they would recommend Red Cross as a great place to volunteer, that Red Cross folks feel like they are supported with training and with staff and with the things that they need in order to provide that help, which is for a lot of folks, the main reason why they volunteer. And so this is sort of something that you can take away with you and think about under each of the 6 hats. Trying to come to an idea, if you have one, if you think you could contribute. This is, like I say, an ongoing issue that we're always trying to increase volunteer promotion. And so I would challenge you to talk with your group. Maybe you are on a committee, maybe you are part of a particular region or a chapter where this kind of question comes up. And then I would challenge you to say, hey, why don't we look at it this way under the 6 thinking hats method and see what we come up with. It's just a practical type of exercise, if you want to call it that. So would anybody like to get in on this for the last few minutes of our phone call for suggesting a white hat thinking for how to increase volunteer promotion?
Survey information on why people volunteer, and also survey information on why they stop volunteering so we can make changes.
Great, great. And how many volunteers do we have? How many have faded away during a particular year? Absolutely, good. Objective facts and figures. All right, Red, what's our emotions and feelings about increasing volunteer promotion? Do we have a good feeling about that? Are we proud? Are we sad because we don't have enough? Are we stuck on a particular way of that Red Cross did something in the past that they don't do now? Anybody suggesting a red hat thinking?
There's one for the white, and then it looks like there will be some more comments for red, but well, there's one for red as well. Promo the stats of accomplishments to attract next gen. For red, position profiles of young people engaging with Red Cross, the next generation of crisis leaders.
Is that how you feel it could be? I'm not quite sure how that equates to emotions and feelings that might be under green for creative ways to increase volunteer promotion.
We have white, be consistent on language we use to define the workforce. This would be red as it would be emotional appeals. That was white.
Oh, I see. Okay, very good,
Yeah.
very good. Excellent. How about black? Black hat thinking. What are we cautious or careful or critical in our thinking about trying to get volunteers to do promotion of Red Cross? Maybe we don't know if past efforts have worked, or maybe we're critical of past efforts. Maybe we are aware that our volunteers in promoting Red Cross might not be able to share all of the information about Red Cross to a new volunteer. Maybe they're concerned that they're doing it at the right time in the right place at the right venue. And yellow hat thinking. What are we hoping?
I have a couple of comments. Talk about the inspiration people feel with empowerment in their job. And black, we want to be sure is genuine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. Thank you. All right. And how about green? Creativity. What different ways could we possibly increase volunteer promotion at Red Cross? We can talk about it in the grocery line.
more public speaking, explaining what um, the positives are as a volunteer of the Red Cross. Also explaining to people that no, we just don't do blood drives.
That's right.
And making sure they know that there are many, many ways that they can help the Red Cross.
Fantastic. Absolutely.
Be
And
sure of how to promote the ideas and reduce number of emails, however.
okay. Yep.
Helping your family and neighbors locally.
Okay, fantastic. And then in terms of Blue Hat, this might be where we say, okay, let's put some of these ideas into motion. We're going to have a meeting next week, and every Tuesday for the following few weeks, that would be Blue Hat thinking. What else can you think of in terms of Blue Hat thinking when it comes to increasing volunteer promotion of Red Cross? Remember, process control, the steps that you would take. Perhaps you want to raise it at your next meeting. Perhaps you want to take another closer look at those facts and figures that you discovered under the white hat. So determining what your next steps are fit well under the blue hat thinking. And so I would challenge you, how are you going to use it? You can use it just about anywhere, at work, at school, as a volunteer, and at home. All kinds of different ways if you want to brainstorm or problem solve. Maybe you want to do some strategic planning or give some feedback. That's often helpful when you're doing evaluations, right? From a DRO. As a volunteer, you can use it to increase communication or reduce conflict or identify solutions to a particular problem. And at home, maybe it's choosing between alternatives, which TV show we're going to watch, or comparing fact and opinion. Those are different ways that you can use it in all aspects of your life. And I would ask that if you want to learn more, this is a great thing. Make sure that you read this book. It's quite short. It's, about 170 pages. It's delightful reading, and it gets right to the core. And if you're interested in a handy guide to make sure you remember what each hat is for, you can get this off the internet and go ahead and print it. Keep it with you. You never know. Keep it with you in your notepad for reference sake. So I appreciate your time with me. I appreciate you thinking with me, and I encourage you to think some more. If you'd like to reach me, my email information is there. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Thank you, Eliza. This was outstanding. I enjoyed the participation that everyone was able to give their input. So again, like I mentioned, please email me if there's any ideas, suggestions, feedback that you have for upcoming workshops. Let me know. We will be providing more detail at a later date as of a schedule on what will be upcoming. But thank you guys for joining. We really do appreciate you taking out the time to join us today. And I hope everyone enjoys the remainder of your afternoon.
Thank you.